Before Christmas, my brother texted, "Don't show up unless you've done something useful." That same day, my parents asked me to cover his loan. I sent 1 cent with the note. "Good luck, champ." A week later, he invited me to a peace dinner, saying, "Families should stick together." They all watched quietly as I opened my bag. The bank had just told me I'd been listed on a six-figure loan connected to his new house. I said nothing, just slid a folder across the table and said, "Figured you'd want a copy." I stared at the message for a full minute, trying to process it. Just 10 words, but it felt like a slap. No hey, no context, just a passive-aggressive command dressed up as brotherly advice. That same day, while I was still half laughing, half reeling from his audacity, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Mom. I didn't even need to open the text to feel the shift in my chest. I knew that tone. The "we need to talk" kind. The "we're about to guilt trip you" kind. Her message read, "Sweetheart, your brother's mortgage payment is due. He's stressed. Can you help cover this month? Just until he gets back on his feet." I leaned back in my chair, staring at my cold cup of coffee. My brother, Marcus, the golden boy, the one who always found a way to dodge responsibility, was once again in need. And once again, it was up to me to help. He'd just bought a new house 2 months ago. Flashy, overpriced, and way out of his budget. I knew it. Our parents knew it. Wow, even Marcus knew it. But he wanted to show off, to prove he was doing better than me. I opened my banking app, scrolled down to my spare account, the one labeled Emergency Fund, and instead of sending him the $2,100 they'd hinted at, I transferred exactly 1 cent. With a note, "Good luck, champ." The silence that followed was delicious. No calls, no angry texts, nothing. Until a week later, Marcus sent an invite to what he called a peace dinner. Said he wanted to patch things up before Christmas. Said families should stick together. My parents echoed the sentiment. Mom even used her "forgiveness is the true gift of the season" line. I didn't reply right away. I needed to see how far this performance would go. So I showed up. The house was decorated within an inch of its life. Twinkle lights, candles, holiday platters. All of them were already seated when I walked in, holding my old leather satchel, the one I never brought to family dinners. Marcus opened the door himself. "Hey man, glad you came." His grin was wide, like he'd already decided how this night would end. A reconciliation scene for the family highlight reel. We sat. Small talk. Awkward smiles. Dad clinked a glass, made some speech about unity. I waited. Then, just as the turkey hit the table, I pulled out the folder from my bag. Cream-colored, thick, and silent. "I figured you'd want a copy," I said, sliding it across the table. They all stared at it like it might explode. It didn't. But the contents inside? That was another story. I didn't need to explain what the folder was. The logo from the bank's fraud department was right there on the first page, printed in bold. My name. My signature, except it wasn't mine. A six-figure loan I never applied for. And the address tied to the mortgage? Marcus's new house. The silence hit like a bomb. Even the kids, Marcus's twins, stopped fidgeting. My father reached for his glasses with trembling hands, flipping the folder open like he didn't already know what was inside. Marcus's smile faltered. "Wait, what is this?" "Oh, I think you know," I said, calm as ice. My mother gasped as she skimmed the pages. "This must be a mistake. There's no way. Marcus, tell him this isn't." But Marcus wasn't saying anything. He was staring at the papers, blinking like he was trying to will them into something else. "This is a bank notification," I continued. "Apparently I co-signed on your mortgage. Except I didn't." Dad looked up. "That can't be. You must have signed something. Maybe you just forgot." I laughed. Forgot applying for a loan I never needed? Forgot signing away 6 figures in debt for a house I'd never live in? "Let me guess," I said, eyes locked on Marcus. "You used one of those old power of attorney documents Mom made me sign when she had her surgery. The one that was supposed to be temporary. The one you just happened to have a copy of." Marcus's mouth opened. Closed. It was going to be temporary. I just needed help qualifying. The bank was being impossible. And I thought, "You thought I wouldn't notice?" He leaned forward, desperate now. "I was going to fix it. I just needed to get approved. Once I refinanced, it was going to be in my name alone. I swear, my signature was used without consent on official documents," I said flatly. That's when Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Stop it. Both of you." His voice rang out like thunder. "This is Christmas. I don't care what happened. We're not going to do this here." "Right," I said. Because we never do it here. We don't talk about how Marcus has been leeching off me since we were teenagers. We don't talk about how you all act like I'm some Scrooge because I won't bankroll his every bad decision. My mother's lips were trembling. That's not fair, isn't it? I shot back. Let me take you on a little walk down memory lane. I ticked them off on my fingers. Freshman year of college, I dropped out because you asked me to help Marcus pay off his car loan after he wrecked the one you bought him. 2 years later, I co-signed for his community college. He dropped out in a semester and left me with the debt. Then the time he got evicted? Who paid for that deposit? Who gave him a job at their company only for him to steal from petty cash? Dad looked like he wanted to speak, but I didn't give him the chance. And through all of it, you kept saying the same thing. He's your brother. He's just figuring it out. Be patient. Well, guess what? He's 34 now. How much longer does he get to figure it out on my dime? Don't act like you're so perfect. Marcus snapped suddenly, his voice rising. You always thought you were better than everyone. Just because you got your act together. Just because you didn't screw up. I turned to him. I don't think I'm better. I just stopped expecting someone else to clean up after me. You don't understand pressure, Marcus hissed. I had to show I could build something too. I needed this house. I needed to prove I wasn't just some loser. What you did may be considered fraudulent. No. I mean, he ran a hand through his hair. It's not like that. My mother tried to reach for my hand. We can fix this. Let's not ruin the holiday. Ruin it. I laughed bitterly. The holiday was already ruined the moment you all sat here pretending like nothing happened. Like you didn't ask me for money right after Marcus told me not to come unless I was useful. Dad's jaw tightened. He didn't mean it like that. He was stressed. He meant it exactly like that. I stood. And so did I when I sent him a penny. I turned to Marcus. You have 30 days to remove my name from that loan. I've already contacted a lawyer and the bank. If you don't act, I will. And you leave me no choice but to act legally. I grabbed the folder, tucked it back in my bag, and walked to the door. No one stopped me. No one said a word. And just like that, Christmas ended early. I didn't expect it to escalate this far. At first, I genuinely thought I could just walk away. Let them choke on their own guilt, if they had any. But you don't grow up in a family like mine and not learn the patterns. Because 2 days later, the call started. First, it was Mom. Honey, can we talk? Your brother's going through a lot right now. Then Dad. I think we need to sit down like men and sort this out. Then Marcus. He had the audacity to send me a video message. A video. Sitting in his half-decorated living room with fake tears in his eyes, holding a glass of wine like he was in some sad movie. Look, man, I made a mistake. I panicked. I thought you'd never say yes if I asked, and the bank was breathing down my neck. I was desperate. But it's still me. Your brother. You'd really report me over this? I stared at the screen in disbelief. A mistake? You don't accidentally fill out a multi-page mortgage application in someone else's name and forge their signature. You don't accidentally rope your own family member into 6 figures of debt. He was playing his usual role, Marcus, the misunderstood dreamer. The guy who always meant well but never quite pulled it off. And everyone always let him slide. Except me. Not anymore. So I responded with my own video. Calm. Direct. No theatrics. I've already filed the legal issue report with the bank. They're opening a formal investigation. I've submitted handwriting samples, a timeline, and email evidence. You have 10 days to remove my name. After that, I escalate it legally. No more metaphors. No more, let's talk about it. Just facts. That's when the situation escalated. They showed up at my apartment the next night. I heard the pounding on the door before I even turned off the TV. Looked through the peephole. There they were. Marcus. Mom. Dad. I didn't open the door. So Dad shouted through it. This isn't the way family handles things. That part made me laugh out loud. I actually had to cover my mouth. Mom's voice came next. Please, sweetie, we can't let this destroy the family. Then Marcus, you're really going to ruin my life over some paperwork. You're not perfect either, you know. That did it. I opened the door. The 3 of them looked like they'd just been caught stealing from a church donation box. I didn't say anything at first. Just stood there in the hallway. Cold air from outside brushing against my legs. Finally, I spoke. You already did destroy the family. I'm just acknowledging it. Dad stepped forward. Son, be reasonable. You want reasonable? I asked. Let's talk about reasonable. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few times, and held it up. This is the recording of Marcus asking me not to show up unless I'd done something useful. Want to hear it again? Their faces shifted. All 3 of them. And this, I continued, flipping to another app, is the email I got from the bank confirming the forgery. It's admissible. Marcus was sweating now. Come on, man. We're brothers. I looked him in the eye. Brothers don't steal from each other. Brothers don't lie. Brothers don't pull each other into financial messes like this and then try to make it sound like a misunderstanding. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. You're going to walk to your car right now. You need to inform the bank about the issue and take steps to fix it. You're going to have them remove my name. And if I don't get a signed, notarized release form within 10 days, I go to the police. Mom gasped. You wouldn't. He's your brother. Oh, I would. I'd sleep like a baby. You'll break this family, she cried. I tilted my head. There's nothing left to break. You just don't like seeing it shattered. And then I pulled the final move. I reached into the envelope taped to my doorframe and handed them a copy. A certified notice from my lawyer, suing Marcus for serious mistake and damages, including emotional distress. You made adult choices. Now it's time to take responsibility. They stood there frozen, like statues. Then I shut the door, locked it, and went to make popcorn. That night, for the first time in years, I slept without grinding my teeth. For the first time in years, my phone stopped ringing. No daily guilt trips from Mom. No gaslighty voicemails from Dad about family values. No text messages from Marcus filled with passive-aggressive emojis and bad spelling. Just silence. And let me tell you something, silence is addictive. At first, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe the police would call. Maybe the bank would pull some legal gymnastics and tie me up in red tape. But none of that happened. What did happen was this. Marcus cracked. On the 5th day after I sent the legal notice, I got a call. Not from him. Oh no, he didn't have the guts. It was from his realtor. Apparently, Marcus had panicked and put the house up for sale. She asked me, very politely, if I would be willing to sign a release of interest to help speed up the sale. I told her I'd be happy to, as soon as Marcus submitted the notarized paperwork removing me from the loan. Fair trade. Within 24 hours, I had a PDF in my inbox. Notarized. Signed. Stamped. A clean break. I was out. But that wasn't the real victory. The real victory came when Dad showed up at my office. Yeah, he didn't call. Didn't text. Just walked in one afternoon like he owned the place, looking about 20 years older than the last time I saw him. I was in the middle of a client meeting. My assistant tried to stop him, but he pushed past and barged into the room. Son, we need to talk. The client blinked. Should I? I nodded. Take 5. Dad shut the door behind him and looked around my office like it was some kind of alien planet. Like he just realized his youngest son had actually made something of himself. Didn't know you had this set up, he said, glancing at the shelves. Looks professional. It is professional. He nodded, still not sitting down. Your mother's not doing well. Ah, there it was. The sympathy angle. She's upset, he continued. Thinks you've gone too far. We all do. I stayed silent. He kept going. Marcus is talking about moving out of state. Says you've poisoned the family against him. I haven't spoken to a single relative about what happened, I said. If they're turning against him, that's his doing. Dad, finally Saturday, he's still your brother. He crossed a serious line. He flinched. We raised you better than this, he said softly. You used to be forgiving. No, I used to be weak. There's a difference. Silence again. Then he leaned forward. She cried, you know, your mother. Real tears. I bet she did. After all, it's hard watching the family start standing up for myself. He looked up. Eyes tired. You're angry. I was. Now I'm free. He stood, slowly. We were trying to hold things together. No. You were trying to hold me together. So Marcus didn't have to carry anything. And then I said it. The thing that needed to be said for years. I'm not your insurance policy. Not your second paycheck. Not your plan B. I'm your son. And you treated me like a resource. He didn't reply. Just looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. I'm not coming back, I said. I'm done playing the good son. He left without another word. And something in me exhaled. Weeks passed. My lawyer finalized a non-disparagement clause to shut down Marcus's public sob stories on social media. The post he'd made about being betrayed by family vanished overnight. I heard through the grapevine that the house sold, barely. Market had cooled. He took a loss. And then came the messages. Cousin Elise, I had no idea what he did to you. If you ever want to grab coffee, I'd love to catch up. My aunt, just know, not everyone believed his version. I hope you're doing okay. Even my ex texted. Took guts to do what you did. I never saw that strength in you before. I didn't respond to most of them, but I smiled. Because that's what happens when you stop playing the villain in someone else's redemption arc and start writing your own story. I moved to a new place. Not far. Still the same city, but it had light. Big windows. Clean walls. No history haunting the corners. I bought new furniture. Not secondhand. Not borrowed from my parents. Not gifted with 1,000 strings attached. Mine. All of it. I started sleeping better. Eating better. My therapist even said I looked lighter. And here's the craziest part. I started mentoring a kid in my neighborhood. Smart, awkward, maybe a little too eager to please. Reminded me of myself at that age. One afternoon, after we finished working on his resume, he looked up and asked, "How'd you get so good at boundaries?" I laughed. I spent 30 years learning the hard way. But you want to know the real full circle moment? Last week, I got a wedding invitation. Not Marcus's. God, no. It was from one of his ex-girlfriends. A woman he ghosted 3 years ago after she told him she was pregnant. Turns out the kid was his. Turns out she raised the child alone. She found me through LinkedIn. The note inside said, "You were always the decent one. Thank you for never treating people like tools. You probably don't remember it, but when I stayed for dinner that night, you did the dishes while he watched TV. That moment stuck with me. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. Just sat there, holding the card, and let the peace wash over me. Because the truth is, I won. Not with revenge. Not with shouting. Not with burning bridges. But by walking away while they were still holding the matches. I used to think being the good one was the goal. Keep your head down. Help out when asked. Don't complain. Don't question. Just keep giving until someone finally says thank you, or until you finally feel worthy. That lie died the day I sent Marcus a penny. I've spent most of my life carrying burdens I didn't create, paying for choices I didn't make, and absorbing blame like some emotional sponge for a family that never asked if I was okay. And for what? Respect? Love? Belonging? I got none of those. What I got was a forged mortgage application, a holiday guilt trip, and a seat at a table where everyone knew I was being betrayed and said nothing. Not anymore. Not again. The first time I said no and meant it, something shifted. It wasn't just in how they saw me, it was in how I saw me. I stopped apologizing for having limits. Stopped second-guessing my instincts. Stopped trying to rescue people who would leave me to drown the moment it got inconvenient. And something strange happened. The weight lifted. Literally. I dropped 20 pounds in 3 months without trying. My shoulders stopped aching. My jaw stopped clenching in my sleep. Turns out, carrying an entire family's dysfunction on your back is heavier than it looks. I started rebuilding. Not just financially, but personally. The apartment? It's modest, but peaceful. I chose every item inside it with intention. No hand-me-downs. No guilt furniture. Nothing bought with blood money or bribery. I bought a small espresso machine because I like coffee, not because someone needed me to cut back to save for their bailouts. I joined a boxing gym, not to fight anyone, but to remember what it feels like to stand your ground. And slowly, people started showing up. The right ones. My neighbor invited me over for dinner with his family. I was awkward at first, waiting for some ask, some angle, but there wasn't one. Just good food and laughter. One of my coworkers brought me a Christmas card and said, "You've been different lately. Lighter. Happier. I hope it's permanent." I said, "Me too." As for my family, they went quiet for a while. Then the calls began trickling in. Mom started with the soft voice. The one she uses when she wants to pretend nothing ever happened. She asked if I'd come to Easter brunch. I asked if Marcus would be there. She said, of course. I said then I won't. Then Dad called. Said he missed me. Said the house felt empty without me. I asked him if he missed me or missed the version of me who never said no. He hung up. Marcus never called. But I heard through the grapevine that he moved in with a friend after the house sold. He started a podcast about rebuilding your life after betrayal. The irony nearly killed me. Eventually, they stopped calling, and the silence became a blessing. But here's the moment that stays with me. The real ending. It was a random Wednesday. Rain tapping on my balcony. I was reading when a letter slipped through my mail slot. No return address. I opened it. Inside was a single page. Typed, "You did what I never could. You said no. You walked away. You showed the rest of us it was possible. Thank you." No name. But I knew who it was. My cousin, maybe. My aunt. Even one of Marcus's exes. Someone still trapped in that toxic orbit, watching me break free and realizing they could too. I folded the letter carefully and slid it into the drawer where I keep reminders of who I used to be. Then I poured myself a drink. Not to celebrate, to remember. Because healing isn't about forgetting what they did to you. It's about no longer needing them to admit it. It's about no longer begging for love that should have been unconditional. It's about becoming the person you were always meant to be, once you stop bleeding for everyone else. I used to think the worst thing that could happen was being cut off from my family. Now I know the worst thing would have been never cutting the cord. Now, I live in truth. And that truth is simple. I am not their wallet. I am not theirs at all. I belong to me. And I'll never go back. Not for money. Not for peace. Not for guilt. I closed the chapter and didn't look back. And for the first time in my life, I felt free.